Common Ground is funded by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota. Hi, and welcome to Common Ground. I'm your host, Ashley Hall. On this week's episode of Common Ground, we meet Kaivama, a duo with Finnish heritage from iron mining regions who are excavating their way into Finnish folk music. We visit the Rail River Folk School in Bemidji, which holds classes where young and old can explore sustainable living. Plus, Kathy Braud of Little Falls captures beautiful images with her palette of vibrant watercolors.
My name is Jessica Salcedo, and I'm here at Rail River Folk School. I'm one of the co-founders of this great idea that we're trying to put together, what we think is a great idea. It's a place that we're trying to create for a community here that was looking for a home for all things local and sustainable. And we're trying to create a classroom and a hands-on learning situation where you can have intergenerational learning with teaching skills that are all things sustainable and traditional in the fact that these are things that we used to do. We used to prepare our own foods. We used to preserve our own foods. We used to make our own socks. We used to do a lot of things Grandma used to know. There's an indigenous culture here that's rich in all the traditions of how to live close to the land. We're trying to embrace that back to basics feel of do it yourself, but have roots in the community so that if you can't do it yourself, you could either learn how or create a system of delivering some of these services and goods to the general public. And we are looking for a way to incorporate art, craft, social events, music, just about anything in the gamut of what's great about northern Minnesota. This is the salad garden. Our idea is that some of the older participants in our learning garden will be able to harvest this for a couple of weeks late in summer, and they'll have cucumber, lettuce, cherry tomato, a variety of other greens, and that way they can make little salad packs and they can take them right to Bemidji's Natural Choice Farmers Market with one of our sponsors of the garden, Chill Creek Ridge, and they can actually vend their little salad packs and get a market experience from what it would be if you wanted to go into the business of producing organic foods. The middle garden is a salsa garden, which ultimately will get us into the kitchen, and we will be doing a pizza sauce and a salsa, and we'll be featuring the ideas of canning, food preservation, the use of fresh herbs, working with doughs to make a pizza crust, and we're really hoping that that will be kind of the crescendo of the project as we get them into the kitchen, and then each family will be able to go home with a really nice set of cooking essentials, pot, pan, some nice stuff that gets us excited about being in the kitchen. The third garden is the traditional planting, the Three Sisters Gardens, which uses corn, beans, and squash as a companion planting, and in that lesson it teaches some stuff about seed preservation, heirloom seeds, just the idea of seed reverence. This particular trio of plants would allow us a perfect setting for a little lesson in soil and soil management. Each plant leaches in its own layer, takes different things from the soil, and also as they die and return back to the earth, again replenishes appropriate nutrients. So it's a balance. We really hope that we can get a long season here in Bemidji, and it will bring us a couple more opportunities to do this again next year. Our landlord, Jay Backstrom, has given us this space gratis for the summer, and Home Depot had given us all of the cedar for this, and then we also received a small grant from the statewide health improvement program, and our partner on the project is Simone Senegals with the Indigenous Environmental Network. So we meet here every Wednesday for open garden from 3 to 6. We feature lessons like composting. We're going to be doing one this Saturday with vermiculture, composting with worms. We'll also be doing some art activities. We're going to make a sign to honor our sponsors. And we have a lot of other things in store. So this is just one piece of Rail River Folk School, but it's one of our favorites because it gets us out in the sunshine.
I'm going to do the oldest fire starting method. This is hardwood, and this is a fire piston. This is wrapped This will be greased, and this right here will have the fire starting tinder will be put right in here. You can use burn cloth, or you can use the mushroom that kind of grows on the birch trees. That'll go in there. I'm going to put that burned cotton in there. It kind of looks like that. I'm going to put a little grease on here. This is mink oil and wax. You can use beeswax mixed with bear oil. Okay, so I've got this. I'm going to put this in here. Same as your diesel engine. Compression of oxygen and fuel. See that? That's the char cloth is starting to glow.
Right on some char cloth.
So there's more burn cloth. You see that? And if it's a windy day, just hold it up. Should be able to just hold it up like this. Did you see the movie Castaway?
I think that the community should know that Rail River Folk School is a place that we're open to ideas, and we're based in the idea that we're where the rail meets the river, and we see the river as like a natural flow of things, of how things kind of come together and flow naturally. But we're also right next to the railroad, and we feel that that's like the industriousness of getting stuff done, taking action, putting ideas into action. And it's really important for us to bring those two things together, because we're trying to foster that productivity, because we want to impact change. We want to start it here, and we want it to spread out into our community. And you know, it's really important for us to be able to speak to across generations and across any kind of cultural border, because we feel like everybody in this area has learned to survive. Within the last 70 years, we've had a lot of change in our systems, but if we go back to some of those distribution systems, some of those ways of learning that were working for our rural community a long time ago, we can really have a chance at getting some healthier foods on our plates and getting some fine quality crafts into our homes, and just really sharing what's rich with each other, and having that being an open forum always, kind of a liquid movement, but also geared in sustainability.
I think it's a pretty interesting class, and I think that more kids in the community should come and learn how to do this. It's really interesting, and it's a good experience. I never knew any of this stuff before I came here, but I learned a lot coming here.
We are at 303 Railroad Street Southwest, and our entrance is on the south. You'll see our little side entrance here, and welcome anytime. Otherwise, I'll share an entrance with the ACLU.
My name is Kathy Braud, and I'm a watercolor artist from Little Falls, and having fun being a watercolor artist. And so right now I've got different projects going on, things to show, and I thought that maybe you, the visitors, would like to see something that I've been doing lately. I am demonstrating an elegant writer pen, and I'm going to work with a pencil drawing I've done, and then we're just going to have fun with it. So this is one I learned about last year, and I've been playing with it so much that I'm to the point of I have a lot of work that I've worked with and able to demonstrate it to other groups now so they can use this cool technique. And I'm just following down some of the lines and making up new ones as I go along here. So just in case you're wondering, well, what am I doing? Making this tree look old, and so it's just like filling in. You'll see some magic happen in a little while here. I was a nurse, and we were starting to think ahead that when we got old and gray and retired, what might we like to do with our retirement years? And a friend of mine had suggested that I would be able to, I was always admiring her artwork, that I would be able to learn how to do that. I could be painting myself. And so I took a Rose Eden class and she came from Staples. And it was the best thing I ever did. It was a week-long workshop, and I'd always taken art in high school, but really hadn't done anything with it for years. As a mother, you know, you cook and you sew and make costumes and do all kinds of stuff like that. But painting, that was different. So by the end of the week, I could paint. I was getting blue ribbons by spring, and that was about 94. So that's about 16 years. They've gone by quick. And since then, the kids have left home. We're not retired yet, but the house is full of art. We got to a point where I needed to market my art, and so we were deciding to maybe market in through art fairs. And so I talked to one of my artist friends, and she suggested I come to an actual art fair and see what they're like, and ask the vendors. And you kind of get all that information in your mind, and it helps you make up your mind if you want to do it. Whatever you do or don't do right now, once water goes on it, then you can't go back until it's dry again. Here's my painting so far. And so it's a tree that's twined and it has roots. And what's special about this is after I put water on it and it hardens, then the ink is set and I can watercolor over it. Let's just try the bottom, see if I'm going to spoil it or not. See, it's activating and it's coming alive. And I'd actually like it to get hairy and run down. Like early spring, the trees are kind of in that waiting to leaf out stage. So I take some water and I just make sure it isn't just totally soaking. And I go like this. And the lines start filling in. And one thing a person has to know about this kind of pen is that it does activate whenever liquid touches it. So if it doesn't get touched now, it'll activate later and bloom and blossom when you're putting paint on it. Okay, starting to make a little more sense. So I've got the tree covered. What I'll probably do is just let it sit and we'll revisit this one in a little while. The tree picture has dried, and I'm sure I didn't touch everything, and so there's going to be some movement still because some of this ink has not been activated. But let's just see what happens. So I've taken up some of my tray colors down here, and I'm going to decide that I want red in the background, like there's sunshine coming through. And then you can tip it so that it drains in a direction you'd like. If you don't want something crawling back, then take it off the edge with a thirsty brush. Okay, so I'm going to have to make this big run of putting something up here pretty quick here. I've got blue over here. Mixed it with a little purple. Okay, it's going to happen. So now, that's turning out. It's bleeding into this area. It's not bleeding all over my stuff. And the fact that there's little pieces of whites and that's okay. So now I still want to bring something down into this area. I still got some dark colors over here. And they're good colors, why not use them? Okay. So this is the roots of the tree. It's going down into some kind of bank. I think that artists have really grown in the last years since I have been artists already. There's the instruction that they're taking is good for them, and so they're making better work, and they're increasing their knowledge base. And so Minnesota is really high up on having a lot of very good artists. So I think our art clubs are helping toward that. So and here I'm just kind of lacing this blue up. And I want some of that in the tree so it's not isolated. See how I just bend my brush? It's a flat brush. And so that gives you the opportunity for flatter areas. You don't want to use it so much that they can recognize that that's the only brush you use. Okay, so this is a very blue painting yet. So now I'm going to add the color on it that would make it change again. To the blue, if you add burnt sienna, you get brown. I don't want to lose all the blue, but I will probably lose some of it. And lots of times you keep another brush on hand, and that's what you call your water brush. So that's the one that kind of fixes it so that some of the things you just did that's hard-edged becomes softer. It pushes something beyond. It changes so you have softened the edges. And that's so much more interesting than it all being the same color. It's important to have big areas of color too. So you don't want to have everything being piecemeal. You want it tied together. Notice I've even got this blue streak or white streak. I've decided maybe it needs it. Maybe it shouldn't be something else. Only time will tell if it stays that way, but. And so it's, this is very much one of those impulse type paintings. I didn't have a real lot of thought into it ahead of time on exactly what it was going to look like. And it's fun to have things that are just fun to make. People that do commission type work and that, they long for the things where they get to be totally in control and no one is telling them what colors and how stiff it should be, and I want it to look just like my photograph. There's something special about not having something so planned that you can't accept that when something blossoms somewhere, you can do something with that and have fun with it.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Runman,
Hello, my name is Sarah Payunen.
and we are a band called Kaivama. Our response has been really positive from all different sorts of audiences, and I think there's something familiar about this music to Americans who maybe listen to other kinds of roots music. They might recognize the instruments They might recognize fiddle music even if they haven't heard Nordic fiddle music before. So there's enough familiar things that people connect, but I also think there's an exotic quality to it that is a little bit mysterious. It tends to be maybe more melancholy than a lot of other European folk traditions. It also, in my experience as a person learning to play this stuff, it tends to be a little bit more complicated chordally or rhythmically. And so I think it's surprising for a lot of people, and it sort of has a built-in kind of yearning or heartache almost for people, and you can see it in the eyes of the people in the audience. And I know that it's happening internally for me when I play the music.
We're playing Finnish folk music in our own way, both old Finnish folk music and new compositions and modern tunes from the Nordic countries. And our name Kaivama stems from the Finnish word kaiva, a verb. It means to delve or dig or excavate. And there's a couple reasons for that. One, we are digging into our shared Finnish heritage because both Jonathan and I are Finnish-American. And also we're both from iron mining parts of the country. I'm from the Iron Range of Minnesota and Jonathan's from Ishpeming, Michigan.
Sarah and I have been solo artists for many years. I've been playing rock music and Sarah's been playing classical music. And a little over a year ago, we met one another and we were both interested in exploring the folk music of Finland, where our ancestors came from. And we found that the combination of our two musical backgrounds complemented each other well when we played folk music together.
Yep, I got my university degree in classical music, and also I studied classical music in Helsinki, Finland for a few years before I started playing this type of music. We are writing our own tunes through the lens of our experience and the genres of music that we have been playing previously, and also through our adventures in learning about Finnish folk music and playing Finnish folk music. We're not trying to write Finnish tunes exactly as they would have been 100 years ago. We're really kind of using that as a catalyst to write our own music together collaboratively.
And I think too, playing within a tradition, we do that by using certain instruments. And so because the music that's influencing us is from a fiddle band tradition, obviously Sarah's the fiddle player in this group, and so I get to have the fun of doing accompaniment instruments like they would in Finnish folk music. So I play not only guitar but harmonium and banjos and mandolins and other instruments that recall music from a long time ago in the States and even in the Nordic countries as well.
One thing as Americans, a lot of times we are missing culture a little bit because we're such a melting pot. So my Finnish heritage, although I'm 75% Finnish and I have 25% Slovenian in me, my Finnish heritage is really the strongest. So the closest I can come to really feeling part of a smaller and more compact culture is when we take this music and play for Finns and with people who have similar traditions, who know similar things, who have a similar disposition or similar feelings. So that's really special for me. It's such a melting pot here. People are so different and so many different cultural backgrounds. And I think that Finns are they're not outspoken people. They feel emotion very deeply but very quietly. And I think that music is an incredible medium for that. And it's very, it's kind of under the rug, but you can feel it there. And I like that.
We're very excited to be on tour in Minnesota, and we've been playing all around the state, in the Twin Cities, and also up at a folk festival in Brainerd and Nisswa, and now here in Bemidji this evening. And we're touring in support of our brand new album. It's our self-titled debut CD, and it contains about half songs from Finland, written by Finnish composers from long ago and from present day, as well as half tunes written by Sarah or me, or Sarah and me together. So we're touring in support of this record, and we would invite anyone to check out our webpage, kaivama.com, where they can be our friend on Facebook, order the album. You can also get the album on the iTunes Music Store. And we'd love to come and play other places in northern Minnesota. So those of you who watch this show are welcome to check us out, send us an email, and invite us to your town. We'd love to come and play.
Thank you so much for joining us. We hope that you enjoyed the show, and we look forward to seeing you next week right here on Common Ground. If you have a segment idea for Common Ground pertaining to North Central Minnesota, contact us at legacy@lptv.org or call us at 218-333-3022. To view this episode or any Common Ground segment, visit us at lptv.org/Common Ground. Individual segments or copies of Common Ground, please call 218-333-3020. Common Ground is funded by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund with money from the vote of the people of Minnesota on November 4th, 2008. If you enjoyed this segment of Lakeland Public Television's Common Ground, consider making a contribution at lptv.org.